What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Virus 32. Virus 32 is directed by Gustavo Hernández and wrote the film alongside Juma Fode and stars people like Paula Silva and Daniel Hendler. I got to check out this movie just a tad bit early, and I actually was hoping to get this video up a lot sooner. This movie comes out tomorrow, April 21st of 2022, and will be exclusive and an original for the horror streaming service Shudder. For anybody who's not familiar with Shudder, it's all about horror. It's literally a streaming service all about horror. They don't sponsor me here on the channel, but they do send me over their movies to talk about from time to time, and so a big thanks to them for letting me check out this movie a little bit early. What I can say about Virus 32 right out of the gate in terms of my biggest positives is that the film has a really good layer of good performances throughout the course of the film and a really great use of cinematography and practical effects. Beyond that, I have to be completely honest when I say that I was not a huge fan of this movie. I didn't find this film to be a bad film, but I just found it to be pretty generic, bland, and boring. And by the time the movie was over, I just didn't really find myself caring about the characters or the journey that we had just been on with these characters. What I really can say though about this film is that the utilization of this location that they have in the film is pretty great. The film takes place primarily at kind of like a gymnasium club, similar to like a YMCA or like a Boys and Girls Club kind of thing, where it's just a big club that has a bunch of different sporting rooms and a pool and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I really enjoyed the way that they utilized this premise for the film, creating very eerie feeling situations, locations, and some very claustrophobic moments in the film. The film focuses on Paula Silva's character, who is the character of Iris, who's kind of a deadbeat mom who doesn't really have this attachment to her daughter the way that she should, and she's more interested in smoking weed, drinking, kind of just partying and hanging out than she is being a mom. Over the course of the film, we do start to kind of unravel a little bit about the past, recognizing that there is a reason why the character Iris isn't the best mom anymore, and over the course of the film, we learn a little bit about that. On top of all that, there is a zombie virus spreading that kind of has this 32-second weird window of time where when one of these zombies ends up attacking somebody or killing somebody, they have 32 seconds where they're kind of immobile. They're just kind of sitting there. They're just kind of standing there, and they either live or they die. And that premise is just kind of weird and random because it doesn't really play that big of a part in the movie. There's a couple of times where they utilize this time frame element to get in and out of situations, but it's pretty minimal, especially for the fact that it's in the title of the movie. If you see the poster, it says you have 32 seconds to live or die. And honestly, I just feel like they don't really lean into the 32-second thing all that much. There are definitely moments for sure, but I just feel like it's just a weird random kind of thing that they added to this iteration of zombies that we didn't really need. As for the zombies in this film, for the most part, I think they look good, but it's a mix of generic when it comes to the zombies, as well as a mix of kind of like questioning what kind of zombies are these. You know, we have the classic old, just dumb zombies from back in the day, as well as, you know, the more newer age, very fast-paced running zombies, and there's always different iterations in any zombie movie that you watch. And so in this movie, the zombies are a mix of kind of intelligent, where they can open doors, and they're kind of inquisitive, and they kind of look around and try to find something or find somebody to kind of get clues as to where somebody may be. But at the same time, they also have that traditional dumb zombie feel and vibe. So there is a bit of an inconsistent feeling to the zombies in this movie. Outside of the good practical effects and good cinematography, lighting, and use of this location throughout the course of the film, there is some pretty poor use of digital effects here, specifically around a baby that shows up later in the film. I won't get into spoilers, but that has to be one of the worst CGI effects that I've seen in any modern day film, probably in a very long time. I honestly can't even think of another time that I saw a modern day film, especially in the horror genre, that utilizes CGI as bad as this, unless it was like, you know, a movie that was almost made to be a parody or much lower budget than this. I actually recently watched some horror films that were lower budget than this movie and saw some better effects in those films. With that said though, this is a lower budget film, and that's why I gotta praise the cinematography and the use of this location, because there is an element of the location that does feel redundant redundant at times, but they do a good job of keeping it really exciting and enticing in terms of the visuals and keeping it very eerie and creepy. So they do utilize a lot of what they have for a pretty interesting horror film, and I think that that's definitely the biggest praise I can give this film. Beyond that, I found the story to just kind of be lackluster. You have this mother who is a, kind of deadbeat mom, as I mentioned, who is a security guard of this club, gymnasium kind of thing I was mentioning earlier, and she brings her daughter with her to work, and that's when the whole zombie outbreak starts to unfold, and they're trapped within this building. She's trying to find her daughter at a certain point because she kind of split off from her, and yeah, I enjoy the story of a mother looking after her daughter in a dangerous situation. Any parent doing that, I think that can always make for a good story in a movie like this. But yeah, I just didn't really find myself caring about the character of Iris or her daughter Tata. I just honestly found them to both be kind of dull characters. This movie is also in Spanish, and I am Spanish speaking. I can understand it more than I can speak it. But yeah, I gotta say, one thing that was definitely disappointing were the subtitles. There were times that the subtitles were so tremendously off from what the characters were actually saying, adding words and inflections that were not actually said in Spanish, or sometimes adding lines of dialogue when somebody did not speak at all. I found that to be very distracting over the course of the film, and it kind of creates a different movie at times based on what we were reading in the subtitles and what's actually being said. By the time the movie was over, I genuinely didn't care about any of the characters, the things that were going on, and it just felt like a generic horror zombie film that had really good cinematography, visuals at times, and overall good performances, but the story around what we're getting at here is not all that great. You have a character that shows up later on to help Iris in a way with this weird thing that goes on with a woman who's pregnant, and I won't get into spoilers, but this individual who appears later on is so knowledgeable about the zombies and how they work, and how to kill them and how to recognize if somebody is infected. And I honestly found that to be a little bit confusing as well, because the movie opens and it's just a normal world. So we're meant to believe that this zombie outbreak has kind of just started to happen as the movie is picking up and starting up. And so by the time the movie is going and we're like, an hour in and this character shows up and has all this knowledge, you just question how he knows this, you know what I mean? The zombie apocalypse has not been going on for a long period of time, so it doesn't really make sense to me that this character would be so knowledgeable on how to face them, how to recognize who is a zombie and who's not, and all of that jazz. Ultimately, I found that to just be a strange element of the film, and just part of the issue that I have with this film overall is that it just doesn't really have a consistent narrative at times, and the narrative itself is pretty generic. So that's gonna be my thoughts on Virus 32. I honestly wanted to like this movie a lot more because I enjoyed a lot about how the film was actually put together and performed. But I feel like the actors and actresses in this film were not given a whole lot of great material. The young girl who plays Tata in this film I found to be a really weak child actress. I never really bought into her character or any of the stakes of the moment because of that. There are characters that get in and out of scuffles that should have killed them that are completely fine by the time the movie's over. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And just a lot about this movie just felt generic. I just never found myself really latched on to the characters. There's one moment in the later part of the film where you really feel for the character of Iris, and it feels like things just got really fucked and you're kind of like in it to see what's going to happen with this character of Iris. But they kind of reverse what made you feel anything for her, so then that kind of gets taken away, and ultimately that's how I feel about this film overall, is just that it had really good moments. It had things that kind of kept like piquing my interest, but ultimately by the time the movie was over, I just didn't care, and I can't imagine myself seeing this movie again. But maybe you will enjoy this movie. Have you seen Virus 32? Did you check it out on Shudder? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know all of that down below in the comment section. Please hit that like button if you guys enjoyed the video, because it does help the channel out. Subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.